Hello everybody, this is the Lime Popsicle speaking. Well, today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different for all of you. I'm going to be telling you a bedtime story. So hopefully all of my listeners out there who have trouble sleeping will be able to sleep better when I tell them this story. And if you like this, by the way, let me know, and I can do more bedtime stories in the future. So just leave a comment if you like it, because this could be the first of Lime Popsicle's bedtime stories, if you really like it. But before we get to the story, I just want to say that I just want to do a little order of business here. Now, Pants and I, just a few days ago, we filmed a Kid Chameleon LP. It's kind of a Lime Popsicle's Guide to Kid Chameleon, where I give, it's my favorite Sega Genesis game, and I give tips about how to play the game, and, things like that, and you watch me play it, obviously, and Pants does the co-commentary, and he's quite hilarious, as Pants always is. So, I think it's pretty good. The only thing is that, about almost halfway through the game, we kind of lost connection. So the LP had an abrupt end to it, to put it that way. But so I don't know if we're going to do another half of it. I don't know if we're going to continue another time, or we're just going to post that part. But eventually you'll be seeing a Kid Chameleon LP anyway. But the reason I'm mentioning this, besides giving you, something to look forward to, by the way, something to look forward to, guess what? A couple of days from now, there's going to be a new LP on our channel. It's not Kid Chameleon, but it's another game that a lot of you really like. We've played it before. Pants and I have played it before, and I've also played it with Billy MC, so that's a big hint. I don't want to say anything else about it because I don't want to give it away completely. But we decided to play it again because you guys liked it so much the first time. We thought you'd enjoy seeing it again. So that'll be up in a couple of days. So watch for that. But anyway, I was mentioning the Kid Chameleon LP because in that LP I mentioned that there's a donation button on our channel, on our profile page. So if you go to the profile page, you'll see there's a donation button. Now, so as I said, I did mention it in the Kid Chameleon LP, so you might hear this twice, but the reason I'm mentioning it here is because I just have to say that a huge thank you. I have to give out a huge thank you right now to one of our biggest supporters. This guy's always been a big supporter, this guy. He's always loved our videos. His name is Michael Watohero. And he leaves comments all the time, and he did a duet with me once on a Righteous Brothers song that was really good. And this guy's amazing. But I have to say, I just received from him, and I'm completely floored by this. I received from him a $50 donation. A $50 donation in US dollars, which in Canadian dollars is something like, something like $63 right now because our dollar is so low. So it translates to about 63 Canadian dollars. It's unbelievable. So I can't believe it. It's such an amazing, what a donation this guy. I thank you so much, Maito Watohiro. I'm sorry, I usually say your name wrong, and, but I don't even know what to say. I'm just speechless. I can't believe that, wow. Just thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And prior to that, and I don't want people to worry, I'm not going to make a video every time that I get a donation. I'm not going to make a video every single time and mention it every single time or anything like that. But this is only the second donation that I've ever received. The first one was for $1, and it was from Travis Nichols. And I thank him very much, as I did in the Kid Chameleon LP, for sending that donation. Now, I didn't thank Michael Watohero in the Kid Chameleon LP a few days ago because I hadn't received the donation yet, and so that's why I wanted to make sure that I mentioned him in this one. But like I said, I'm not gonna mention people every single time or anything like that. So you guys don't have to worry about that. But you know, this is pretty new to me. As you know, getting donations. Like, I mean, that is unbelievable. That is unbelievable. I did have a guy pay for a song request once too. I didn't ask him to pay, but he just volunteered to pay because it was a birthday gift for his girlfriend. So that was cool too. Because you know, I do song requests if people have them. You know, if I can do the song and if I think it's a good song for me to do, I won't do any song, but you know, and those are free. You know, those are free. We don't charge for stuff on our channel. You know, do all that. But if you want to send a donation, you know, because I realize I go to other video game channels. I explain to the Kid Chameleon LP, but I go to other video game channels. I see that people sometimes like to send donations. You know, it's just something they like to do if they appreciate the entertainment, you know, of a channel, ASMR, video game channels, or whatever. Then it's something they want to do sometimes. So if that's something that makes you happy, you want to do it, then by all means, you know, you have an option to do that by clicking on the donation button. And the other reason, as I said in the Kid Chameleon LP, is because Lime Popsicle here, he doesn't really have a lot of money, you know, and we talk more about the things in the Kid Chameleon LP, so, you know, it's much appreciated. It's just much appreciated, of course, to receive donations. So anyway, but enough about that. I hope I haven't bored you to tears talking about that. But I want to get to the bedtime story. So this is Lime Popsicle's first bedtime story. Okay. Well, actually, I did a bedtime story at the end of one of our LPs a while ago. But you'd have to listen. It was a very long LP, and you would have had to listen right to the end to hear it. I know some people did, because they made comments about it. But anyway, okay, so I'm going to do this, like, I'm going to try not to talk as loud, because you know, if you're going to, maybe you want to go to sleep after hearing this, or maybe you're going to lay in bed and listen to this story, you know, so anyway, if you're laying in bed right now, or you don't have to lay in bed, if you just want to, you know, sit up or stand up, I don't know, you can walk around and stuff if you want, but if you are laying in bed and you're just getting very sleepy, then I hope you will enjoy this bedtime story. This is a story about a person. This is a story about a plain folk, just a normal person, basically. I mean, we always hear about celebrities all the time. You know, we hear about people in the news and people on talk shows and stuff like that, but we don't always hear about just the regular people, you know, the people we meet on the street, or the people who live next door, or, you know, or people like us, right? So today I'm going to tell you a story about a regular person. Now this story, I have to give credit here, of course, this story is written by Steve Gerber. Steve Gerber, by the way, is the creator and original writer and the best writer of Howard the Duck. That's right. So if you know Howard the Duck in the comics from the 70s, then he was the original creator of Howard the Duck and writer. He had nothing to do with the movie, and he would definitely want me to let you know that. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago, but Steve Gerber was a great writer. And anyway, he wrote this story. It's from Crazy Magazine. I like to read humor magazines. You know, if you know about Lime Popsicle, you know that. This is from Crazy Magazine number 4. Okay. So, this is a story about Isabel Pogorny. Had to make sure I got her name right there. Okay. Isabel Pogorny was born on Groundhog Day in 1923 in a 2-room house on the outskirts of Vandalia, Illinois. Her parents, Sean and Placia Lindstrom, named her Isabel Pogorny because from the day of her birth they were certain they did not wish to be associated with her. The first indication that her parents' judgment was correct came when Isabel was only 6 weeks old. Only 6 weeks old. One morning at 3 a.m., while Sean and Palacia were sound asleep, Isabel leaped from her crib, tore off her diaper, stole one of her father's cigars, and used it to beat the family dog Ramona to death. Oh, wow. I didn't realize there was this violence in the story. I hadn't read this for a while. I hope that doesn't wake you up, or, of course we don't condone any violence to animals or anything. Anyway, I'm going to continue the story. When her parents awoke the next morning, both Isabel and the dog were nowhere to be found. The infant was located some hours later, parading nude through the streets of Vandalia, puffing on the dog's body and dragging the cigar behind her, singing a chorus of Embraceable You. This is a very... Well, maybe this person isn't really like you and me. Very strange. Okay, anyway, understandably, Isabel spent the rest of her infanthood and all of her childhood at the Illinois Home for the Bizarre and Unsalvageable in Knoxville, Tennessee. Okay, here's a weird kid. We have a pretty messed up kid. Okay, she was valedictorian for the IHFTBAU class of 1934. I have no idea what that stands for, viewers. And in her address to her classmates and the faculty, she gave some hint of what course the rest of life would follow. She said in part, "Only when man learns the value of a goat flake will the full potential of anthropology be realized." It was not a prophetic statement, but it made her feel good. Isabel returned to Vandalia to discover that her father had made improvements on their home in the 14 years she was gone. They now lived in a 3-room house. Because the Depression was on, from the very moment Isabel walked back in the house, her father suggested she journey to Chicago to earn a living. Isabel agreed. But she took the long way to the Windy City, via Pakistan. It did not reach Chicago until 1941, on the day Pearl Harbor was attacked. The Depression was over, but the war was on, so Isabel threw all of her effort into wiping out the scourge of Nazism. Until 1946, she refused to drink beer or eat sauerkraut. In addition, she went to work in a munitions factory, and that was where she met Freddie Bravata, her husband-to-be. Freddie was rejected by the armed services because he had been born with 2 left knees, both on his right arm. But even though he sat in the most peculiar fashion, Isabel was fascinated by him. At heart, he was a poet, and he used to compose sweet verse while stuffing newspaper into nose cones. They were wed on Groundhog Day, 1943, and on February 4th, 1943, Isabel gave birth to their son, whom they named Nee. After the war, the entire family moved to the West Coast, and that was when tragedy struck. In an auto accident somewhere in the Rocky Mountains, Freddie lost both his arm knees and Nee, his son Nee, who fell over a cliff. Freddie never recovered from the loss. To this day, he sits in the corner of the apartment he shares with his brother Neckbone, in Wounded Knee, South Dakota, murmuring, 3 knees, all gone, 3 knees. Only Isabel summoned the guts, apparently from Nee's body, to forge onward. Reaching Los Angeles, she rented a 1-room apartment in Beverly Hills and took a job as a street cleaner, while working part-time at night in a chemical plant, attempting to synthesize the perfect goat flake. In 1959, Isabel received the most tragic news of her life and could not stop laughing for almost 2 months. Sean and Placia Lindstrom had both been killed when a freight train derailed 2 miles from their home, and 48,000 chickens in a nearby barnyard fled into the Lindstrom house for shelter, suffocating Sean and Placia. Today, Isabel is a waitress in the Hollywood International House of Pancakes, where she earns more tips than any other waitress. We asked her why that was. "It's because I can philosophize rarely with the customer," she says. "I can talk about Plato, Jung, Kierkegaard, or even Fabotnik while pouring boysenberry syrup." Isabel's is a story of just plain folks from which we can all draw inspiration. Despite much personal tragedy and a confused mind, she has found happiness and expects to find goat flakes too. Okay, so that was Lime Popsicle's first bedtime story for all of you youngsters and all of you wonderful listeners out there in the audience. Now, I'm just wondering, if you didn't like that story, I'm really sorry. It had a few things in it that were disturbing, to say the least, but, you know, it was not about a real person, in case I'm sure you know that. So don't worry, that was not a real story. But if you would like, you know, I was just going to read you one story today, but if you'd like, I can read you another story. Would you like me to read you another story? Maybe you're not asleep yet, man, because that story might have kept you awake. So, you would? One more story? Okay, one more story. So you're getting a double bedtime story today. Let Lime Popsicle get it out. Okay, so Lime Popsicle is getting out another story over here. And he's going to come back and he's going to tell you that story. Okay. This story is a Christmas story because, you know, I don't know, because I feel like telling you a Christmas story, even though it's July. So, I should have saved this for Christmas, probably, but anyway, it's a good story, and I want everybody to hear it. I just want you to hear it right now. This story is a parody of a famous short story by a man named O. Henry. He wrote a story called Gift of the Magi, which some of you may have heard of. So if you haven't heard of it, then you haven't. But this is a parody of that story. This is called The Gift of the Magic, and it's written by Larry Siegel. This story comes from Humbug, another humor magazine. Humbug from 1958. Was actually, it was cover dated January 1958, so it actually would have come out, December of 1957 in time for Christmas. Okay, so let me turn the light on. It's dark in here, viewers. It's easier to read. Always read with good light. That's a Lime Popsicle tip for you. Okay, so here we go. The Gift of the Magic by Larry Siegel. 11 cents. That was all. Dolly had only 11 cents with which to buy her Tim a present, and here it was just one day till Christmas. She kicked off her shabby, worn shoes, threw herself on the shabby couch, and cried bitterly. While the mistress of the house is bewailing her fate, put on some shabby clothes and join us for a tour of the one-room flat. In the center of the floor is the dining table fashioned out of an orange crate by Tim. In one corner is a couch fashioned out of an orange crate by Tim. In the other corner is an orange crate fashioned out of a chair by Tim. Dolly finished her cry. Once again she looked at the measly 11 cents, all she could save after months of effort. But after all, how much could you put away from a salary of $4 a week, before taxes? Poor Tim, he worked so hard. He deserved something fine and rare for Christmas. Suddenly she whirled around and stood before the mirror. Slowly, lovingly, she unpinned her hair. With the pride of a mother for a newborn baby, she caressed the golden strands with her fingers. With a sigh, she let it fall down to its full length, an inch above her ears. Now there were only 2 possessions of the Timothy Youngs in which they both took a mighty pride. One was Tim's genuine Mickey Mouse watch that had belonged to his young nephew and to his nephew's nephew before that. The other was Dolly's hair. How Tim loved Dolly's soft, fragrant hair that cascaded like a shimmering golden waterfall to an inch above her ears. How Dolly loved Tim's watch, with the little white gloves at the end of the minute hands, the clunking tick, and the flawless Disney movement. Dolly pinned up her hair nervously and quickly. She put on a shabby jacket, and she hurried out onto the shabby street. The snow fell in big gray shabby flakes. She stopped before a sign that read, Mademoiselle Dobramy, hair goods of all kinds. She took a deep breath and walked in. 20 minutes later she returned to the street, her head many tresses lighter, but her purse $3 heavier. Yes, viewers, she had cut off her hair for money. For 2 hours she ransacked the stores looking for Tim's present, and at last she found it. A beautiful, transparent plastic watch band with a genuine brass plate buckle. The perfect thing for Tim. As grand as his Mickey Mouse watch was, he sometimes looked at it on the sly, on account of the wrapping twine he used in place of a band. When Dolly reached home, she got out her curling irons and covered her head with close-lying curls. Tim might kill her for what she did, but after all, what can you buy for 11 cents? At 7 o'clock the coffee was made and the chops were on, when Dolly heard Tim at the door. She nervously fingered the plastic watch band and secretly prayed that he'd still love her, in spite of what she did. The door opened, and Tim walked in. He looked very thin and serious. He wearily put down an orange crate. The one he had promised Dolly that morning he would fashion into a dressing table for her, and he walked over to kiss his wife. He stopped when he saw her, and gazed at her with a peculiar expression in his eye. "Tim, darling," said Dolly, running up to him, "don't look at me like that. I had my hair cut off and sold it because I just couldn't have lived through Christmas without buying you a present. It'll grow out again. You'll see, in 4 or 5 years it may even reach my ears. Wish me a Merry Christmas and say you love me. Wait till you see what a nice gift I have for you." "You cut off your hair," said Tim unbelievingly. "Cut it off and sold it," said Dolly, "but I'm still me, in spite of it. Don't you see that, Tim?" "You say your hair is gone?" said Tim with an air of idiocy. Dolly wept bitterly as Tim slowly came out of his trance. "There, there, Dolly," he said, embracing her. "You know that a haircut or a shave or a shampoo couldn't possibly make me love my girl any less, don't you?" He kissed her. "I'll tell you why you gave me such a start," he said, releasing her from his tender embrace. "Just 5 minutes ago I gave a dealer a check for this." He threw a package on the table. She tore it open eagerly, and then a scream of joy was quickly transformed into wails and tears. For there lay the comb. The beautiful black hard rubber comb with the fine teeth on one side, the coarse teeth on the other, and the delicately etched word Ace, sparkling white in the center. The very comb she had always admired in the Broadway shop window, and now it was hers, but the tresses that were to be caressed by it were gone. When Dolly was able to speak again, she said, "Tim, With the money I got for selling my hair, I bought you this." She gave him a package which he opened at once. There is the transparent plastic watch band with its brass plate buckle. "But, Dolly," said Tim, flopping down on the couch and covering his face with his hands, "I got money which I put in the sugar bowl to back up the check for your comb by selling my watch." "But, Tim," said Dolly, her fingers flying to her face, "I lent the money in the sugar bowl to my mother this morning. She wanted to buy my father a watch for Christmas." "But, Dolly," gasped Tim, "I just met your father at the jewelry store, and he was buying himself a watch." "But, Tim," said Dolly, "he couldn't buy himself a watch. He doesn't have any money." "But, Dolly, he told me he pawned your mother's comb to get the money." "But my mother will need the comb because she just went out to buy herself some hair." "But my mother is buying her some hair for Christmas." "But your mother has no money, Tim." "But I'm not Tim," he said, removing a mask from his face. "My boss sent me from Mindy's restaurant to spy on O. Henry. My name is Nathan Detroit." Here I have lamely related the story of two foolish children who sacrificed the greatest treasures of their house, and even though the gifts were not right, the lesson is clear. Always check with your wife if you are going to buy her a comb, to make sure she hasn't sold her hair. Better still, don't buy gifts if you can't afford them. Make them out of orange crates. So, viewers, that is Lime Popsicle's bedtime stories for you. So let me know if you like those. And also, if you did like them, let me know if you'd like to hear more in the future. And also let me know which story you like the best. The first one about the Isabel progeny, or the story about Dolly and Tim and the gift of the magic, where they both bought them each other gifts that they could no longer use. Okay, so viewers, I hope you enjoyed that very much. This is the Lime Popsicle signing off, wishing you a wonderful, wonderful night, a wonderful good morning, a great next day, and sunshine and everything wonderful in your life forever. So until next time, remember, it's fun to stay alive.